We made it. After some difficulties, we are alive, we are here, and we're so delighted to be here with you. We figured out it is a browser issue. So that was what was causing the issue. So I am very excited to be interviewing Sharon. This is my first time getting to talk with her. So I'm looking forward to that and getting to know you more and hearing more about you. So can you introduce yourself to the community? And for those who are just joining in, say hello, say a little prayer. We are right now just thanking Jesus that this interview worked. We have been at it for about 30 minutes and we finally figured out it was a browser issue. So
Yes.
go ahead, Sharon.
Yes. Yes. So I am so excited to be here with you, Lauren, and with everyone else who may be watching this. Um, as Lauren said, my name is Sharon Shepphard. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. My husband, Mark, and I moved here, it was 7 years ago in January. We're from the Northeast, but we decided to come to where it was a little bit warmer. So we've been here, and I have been in private practice here in North Carolina since we moved here. And the name of my practice is Hope Encounter Therapy. And I work exclusively with clients who have a history of trauma. And my
Mhm.
specialty is working with clients with childhood sexual abuse.
Wow, that is awesome. That is something definitely near and dear to my heart. Especially so many women that have been sexually abused end up in domestic abuse, which we're not delving too much into today, but that is something that is very, very common. So I am looking forward to interviewing you and possibly doing more conversations in the future. I can coming.
Oh,
So
sorry, the dog
that,
in the background.
oh no, it's all good. Mine may say hello back. So today's topic is going to be good. We were just talking right before we came in, and it's about how trauma impacts our physical being. At first, I was like, yeah, emotional abuse is physical abuse. And Sharon corrected me and is like, actually, really, all abuse is physical abuse, emotional, mental, verbal. All of it impacts our physical being. So we're going to be talking today about that and how you find wholeness and healing, because she's going to be a speaker at a retreat and she's going to be sharing more about that at a retreat. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting our appetites wet for what you'll be sharing and learning from you today.
All right, sounds
So let's
good.
get started. We can go ahead and start with our first question, and that is, how does abuse impact our physical health?
It's such a good question. And I won't go into a ton of detail because I could talk about this for hours. Talking about trauma and particularly healing from trauma is my favorite thing to do. And what a lot of folks don't recognize, those who have trauma or even those who are supporting those with trauma, is
Mm-hmm.
that uh, trauma impacts. So we're made up of three primary parts, right? We have our mind,
Mm-hmm.
we have our spirit, and we have our body, and they are all interconnected. So when trauma occurs, we often think of someone needs to they need to go see a counselor, they need to go see a
Yeah.
therapist to work through that trauma, and that is true, that is a good place to go. But what often gets left behind in that and hopefully, if we go to a Christian counselor, a Christian therapist, they're going to integrate the impact to the spirit as well. But what often gets left behind is the impact to the body. And the
Yes.
impact to the body can be significant.
Yes, it can. Definitely. And it's very impairing too as a trauma survivor. You feel like it's frustrating. You heal your soul and your spirit and you leave off the body. And it
Yes.
also, I feel like, still continues affects the soul and the spirit when your body's not well. It's just
Yes.
hard to heal without integrating a whole body, whole brain process.
Yes.
So I could talk about this for hours too. I'm excited to learn more.
Yes. So, some of the impacts to the body can be fairly significant. Folks will
Mhm.
come down with autoimmune disorders.
Yeah.
Cancer has certain types of cancer, especially gastrointestinal cancers, have been linked to trauma. Things that
Mm.
aren't, well, they still can be life altering, but not necessarily to the same level as those two. Migraines, chronic pain. I've had so many clients who will come in with chronic pain. And as a trauma survivor myself,
Mhm.
I have, been afflicted with chronic pain. And medical doctors are sometimes at a loss because they cannot find the source of the chronic pain. And when we know that someone has a trauma history, for me as a trauma therapist, that's one of the first things that I look to is, oh, you have chronic pain. Do you have a trauma history?
Yes. And I was just we interviewed a therapist yesterday too, and she said one of the most common things is it affects the gut and they have stomach problems, but it doesn't show up on
That's right.
scans and the doctor, like, we don't see what's going on, but it's because so much is being held in the gut. The trauma
That's
stores
right.
itself there. And so, yeah, that's amazing. I wonder too, like, as we're healing, our whole body healing, do we reduce the impacts of the physical being, like, as far as the percentage or chances maybe of contracting, hopefully not contracting, probably is not the best word, but coming down with cancer or
Yes.
something like that too.
Yes. So that's why it's so important that the 3 be integrated together. So the work of healing the mind and the spirit.
Okay, I'm gonna be right back and let you talk. My dog, I apologize, y'all.
Well, mine was just barking a little bit ago too. So, we have a lot of emphasis, as I said, on the healing of the mind and the healing of the spirit, especially as believers, that integration of our faith and how foundational that is to our healing. But the attention to the physical is left behind. And what we know is that if we integrate those together, that the success of those resolving all the issues, resolving the emotional and spiritual and physical symptoms, can be at the very least mitigated. They lessen, but in most cases, they go away.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
I
amazing.
have uh, I had a client a few years ago that had an autoimmune disorder, and I won't go into any detail just because of confidentiality.
Yes.
But they had an autoimmune disorder and significant childhood trauma.
Hmm.
And we spent a good year together. And by the end of the time, her trauma had been resolved. And she went to her doctor because she was feeling different. And they did testing, and her autoimmune disorder was gone.
Wow, that gives me chills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Chronic migraines are a big one that we see resolve pretty quickly, with the trauma resolution.
wow. And I know many that struggle with chronic migraines. That's very common among abuse
Mhm.
survivors, actually.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible how amazing God has intricated all this stuff to be able to bring whole body healing. And yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I'm excited for at the retreat to be talking about, and I have always incorporated, mind, body, and spirit in the work that I've done with my clients. But I wanted to be able to feel that I had a little more expertise in the area of nutrition because
Mhm.
I know how important it is to the healing process from trauma. And so, about a year ago, I went through a pretty extensive certification program to
Wow.
be a I had it's a I had to write it down because my title, it's a long, weird title. It's Certified in Integrative Medicine and Nutrition for Trauma Treatment.
I
Yeah,
think that's such a thing.
I
I'm
know. Isn't that
excited.
great?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's great. So this will be my first time, other than working with individuals, it'll be my first time at retreat working with smaller groups of folks, just talking about nutrition, the importance that it plays in supplementing
Hmm.
the therapeutic process, right? The mental and spiritual therapy, counseling that we receive. We also need to receive nutrition counseling as well. Quite often, what has happened is when individuals are traumatized, we've already talked about it impacts the body and
Hmm.
starts to break down the body and show up in all these various ways. But what also can happen is when someone is suffering from trauma for an extended period of time and they're dealing with anxiety, panic disorders, depression, they've kind of lost their way on how to eat well. It's taken a back seat to survival.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the goal of this is to help people who have either worked through their trauma, jumpstart a good nutritional plan, or for those who are going through trauma counseling, to have a supplement to that where they can put some focus to healing their body from the outside in, from the nutritions that they take into their body.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, I'm very always been into health and wellness, but I
Mhm.
definitely am excited to learn more about this and how we eat functions affects our I was talking to somebody about our dopamine as well.
Yes,
Dopamine, excuse me, and all different parts of our body. And I'm excited to learn more. And you'll be teaching more on this at a retreat. And
I
that's
will.
and
Yes,
it's going to say your session is titled "Improve Your Mood and Life with Food."
yes, yes. And I would add, it's not just improve your mood, which we all want to improve our mood, right? But it's bigger than that. It's improving your overall well-being and supporting yourself as you go through challenging times, as you're healing from the trauma that's occurred in your life. Or as I said, you feel you're on the other side of that, but you kind of got sidetracked when it comes to nutrition. And eating well and taking care of our bodies is a lifetime mission, with or without trauma, but we are far more likely to remain healthy and to stay healthy if we're taking in the right foods and nutrition into our bodies.
Wow. And I feel like, yes, like you said, this is so much neglected. I feel like a lot of times in the trauma world, we just feel like the main thing is get the brain healthy, do all this stuff. Then you're like, why am I still feeling bad? Why am I
Yeah.
still struggling? And that affects our mood. It affects everything else and it makes it harder to heal. And it's just, wow, there's a way we can incorporate it all and be able to bring whole body healing. And I'm so excited about this piece that you're specifically bringing to the retreat in this session. I'm like, please sign me up. I will be sitting on the front row taking every note I can. I am super thrilled to learn more about this. And so I guess my next question is kind of leads into what we were just talking about is how can we begin to find restoration or physical being after abuse? And I know you were just talking about nutrition. Uh, and so I'm looking forward to hearing what we were kind of talking about that, but kind of leading into that, adding on to it.
Yes, and, there's a lot more. It's not just about nutrition. That's what I'll be speaking about specifically in the workshops, but, taking care of our physical being is, getting good sleep, getting adequate sleep. One of the things I now do with my clients, I have an insomnia rating scale that I give them to see what their level of sleep is, because sleep is when our bodies restore. So it's important to get good sleep. It's important to exercise, if that be just, a walk around the block.
Mhm.
If we feel like it or not, it can be really hard if we're struggling with depression in particular to get up and walk around the block. So, there are tips that I use with my clients to help them with that, and we will be talking about the different symptoms that impact the physical well-being. So I will be talking about that some when we do the workshop. Um, also, we were talking about, Lauren, you and I, before we started, about the vitamin D
Yes. I
because we got some
2
sunshine
hours.
today.
2 hours of working
Yes.
outside. I'm like, "I need this." And I walked inside and I was like, "Wow, I feel so good. So good."
Yes. Yes, it increases those dopamine levels. It's fantastic getting that vitamin D. So those types of things as well. There are different programs that are specific to trauma clients to help them. So, without getting into too much detail, because the three are integrated, right? The mind, body, and spirit, trauma not only gets trapped in our brain and trapped in our spirit, but it gets trapped in our bodies.
Mm,
So we need to find ways to release the trauma from our body. And that's called somatic work,
yeah.
work where we help people let go of the trauma they're storing in their body. We almost all of us can identify where we hold our stress.
Mhm.
And often where we hold our stress, well, that's where we hold our trauma too. So we work with people to connect their thoughts and their emotions to the sensation in their body so that the three can be addressed at the same time. Now, I won't be talking about that at retreat, but there's so much work that is being done and that can be done to support people when they're holding trauma in their bodies.
Wow. And I do have a question because I'm just curious, and I know you won't
Mhm.
be talking this at a retreat, and I'm sure our listeners are curious. What are some ways we can recognize where we hold trauma and kind of release that?
Yes, yes. So it tends to be the area that tightens up, your muscles tighten up for a lot of people. A really common area is the shoulders
That's that's
and
me
the neck.
totally.
That's me too. But then other people, it's their gut. They
Mm,
may feel they have a bit of an upset stomach, they may have a little bit of nausea, they may even have some diarrhea. They get it in the gastrointestinal, right? The second brain, as we call it, the gut. So, here's a little tip that most people don't know, that when we are feeling stressed, the first place it's going to register is in our body. The very first place, before it's even a thought, before it's an emotion, it's going to show up in our body. The body is somewhat of the gatekeeper to the mind and the spirit, but it's also the last place typically that gets resolution with trauma. So it also tends to be the boundary for that full resolution as well. So, what I share with clients is, when you start to feel something in your body, don't wait until you register, oh, I'm stressed about whatever it may be, right? I'm stressed about who might win the Super Bowl on Sunday. My husband's a big football fan. Um, before we even register the thought, as soon as we start to feel it in our body, we need to pay attention. And so a way to release it, it's really pretty simple, is to notice that you're feeling something in your body and
Mm,
have a little inner self-talk. Okay, I notice that my shoulders are tight. Why might my shoulders be tight? What's going on that may be causing my shoulders to tighten up? And when we can make that connection to what the source is, it quite often relieves the tension, relieves the muscle tightness or the upset stomach that we may be feeling. Now, there are times then when we can't register, we don't know. It just comes on us out of nowhere, and we don't have any clue where it's coming from. So, an exercise that I teach my clients is, so if we use my shoulders, right, as the area that is feeling tight and stressed,
okay.
and it is for Lauren too.
I'm over here
So,
going to try it with you as you're doing this.
okay. And everybody who's watching, you can try too,
Join
wherever
in.
your
Yeah.
tight area is. Find a spot in your body that's not tight. Find a spot in your body that's completely relaxed. And what I want you to do is, on the in breath, you're paying attention to that tightness or that feeling in your body that's unpleasant. On your out breath, put the focus to where you feel good in your body. Okay. So in breath, focusing on my shoulders. Out breath, focusing on my left thigh. It feels pretty at peace right now. And on that out breath, because that spot on the body feels so good, let your body kind of sink into that spot.
Wow. Do I keep breathing?
Yeah,
Or
keep breathing.
sorry,
Do
I
not.
meant that. Do I breathe in focusing on this and then breathe out?
Well, but see what I notice you're doing, Lauren? When you breathe in, you're doing this.
Oh, so that doesn't help.
So just breathe in, paying attention to it. And then when you breathe out, it's almost as if, though I'm not literally doing it, it's almost as if I feel like I'm bringing my shoulders down to my thigh. That's relaxed. They're sinking into the comfort of that soft place.
Oh, wow. That is definitely relaxing.
Uh-huh.
Wow. You feel it in your brain. Like you can feel
Yes.
it releasing as well. It's like, wow, it's amazing.
Yes. Yes. Well, and two, you bring up a really good point. So let's say we don't know what we're feeling stressed about, right? And we do that exercise, we should feel relief from the anxiety as well.
Mm.
When we are able to relax the body, the anxiety, because the mind and body are connected to each other, the anxiety should relax as well.
Wow. Okay. That is an amazing tool. Thank you for sharing that today.
You are welcome.
I hope that was really helpful to everybody listening. If it was and you tried it, let us know. I found that incredible. I'm going to be utilizing that a lot.
And you can use that a lot. Yes.
Yeah,
You
next
can't
time
overuse it.
yes, next time my internet's not working right, I'll do that. Yes, and so I'm wanted to ask our final question is, can you tell me a little bit more about your session? I know we've talked a lot about it, but can you kind of give me a little bit more of a sneak peek into it?
Sure. So we'll be covering some main areas. We'll be covering, and I kind of took notes just so, because I'm just starting to put the final pieces together. It's been incubating, and now I'm putting it all together. So we'll talk some more about how trauma impacts the physical body. And we'll even talk about some neuroscience involved
Ooh,
in why that happens. And then we'll talk about practicalities of changing eating habits. There are tips and tools to use to make those changes that make it as painless as possible. And of course, in doing that, we'll be talking about why it's beneficial to make those changes, what's harmful for us potentially food-wise, nutrition-wise, and what would be better substitutes, for those foods. Then we will, talk about it's important, a lot of times, I know for me, I was chatting with a friend yesterday at coffee about Whole30, and I love the Whole30 reset program for those of you who have heard of it.
I'm for
You eat a certain way very healthily for 30 days. But we were talking yesterday, it's so dang expensive and time consuming to do all of that. So what we're going to be talking about nutrition wise is not, it's not going to be something that breaks the bank. It's
Okay, good.
going to be something that is doable for people with what they have access to. And especially right now, food is so expensive.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about that. We'll be doing, I'll be giving handouts. I'll also have available to folks if they want to take an assessment, they want to take it with them and do it and give it back to me the next day. I'm very happy to look at those and do a follow up.
Oh,
Conversation with them about some things that might be helpful. But we'll hand out, I have lots of handouts. We have a what's called a mood food diary, which is very important because some of us, I point the finger at myself, we eat when we feel disturbing emotions.
yes.
So it's important for us to identify when that's happening and what types of foods are we eating, and maybe we can find some healthier substitutes, and eventually the goal is to not associate food with those disturbing emotions. So that's some of the things we'll be doing. There'll be lots more handouts, as well. One that talks about it's from Dr. Leslie Korn,
Mhm.
Korn, who I did my training with. She has a website if you want to check her out. It is just drlesliekorn.com, Korin. I mean Korn. And she created something called the Brainbow food chart, and
Oh,
it just lists all the different foods and how they support us mentally and emotionally. So I'll be giving everybody a copy of that as well.
oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
I cannot wait for this. I'm
Yes.
so excited. My culprit is definitely sugar. I know when I am stressed, I'm
Oh,
going for the
yes.
gummy bears and everything else, and I binge, and I'm like, oh boy, I just felt worse.
Yes, yes, me well, I don't know, it depends. Sometimes I go for the salty, but sometimes it's the sugar too, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Wow. I'm looking forward to being able to recognize that and be able to choose something healthy or choose some type of healthy coping mechanism like the breathing
Yes.
technique instead of turning to sugar because that doesn't help me in the long run.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, and a lot of times and that's why the food mood diary is helpful. A lot of times we don't stop to recognize what we're feeling. We just grab for the bag of chips or the chocolate chip cookie or whatever it may be. And this food diary helps us pause and recognize the emotion. And as you said, realize, "Oh, I have healthier coping skills than eating this junk
Yeah.
food to deal with that."
My half a package of chocolate gummy bears I ate last night. There's a lot better coping strategies, probably better than that. And I was like, oh, felt a little stressed. And then I'm going to eat these instead of sleep. Not good. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm so excited to meet you at the retreat and hear more of your session. And yes, do you know what day you're speaking on by chance?
I think, both Friday and Saturday.
Oh, wow. Yes, because we'll be having the same topics twice a lot of times. So people,
Yes.
there's so many great stuff to choose from. So you can go to hers one day and be, if you couldn't check it the first day, you can get it the second day. So
That's
I
right.
am definitely looking forward to your session and learning more. And thank you so much for joining us today. And for those who are watching, you're like, I want to go to the retreat, please sign up.
Yes.
It is starting to fill. It's not close to filling up. We're about halfway there. Have a lot of interest, and we're really excited. It's going to be a large group of people and lots of great speakers. And Tasha Layton will be there doing a concert for us. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how the Lord meets us there and how we all walk away with new tools for restoration in our souls and our whole body. And yeah, what all God does in our hearts and our lives there.
Mhm.
So I am eager, very eager to see.
Me too.
Yes, and it's still our scholarship campaign for those watching as well. We are raising money this month to scholarship 100 women through our He Makes All Things New Women's Retreat. And right now we've raised enough for about 3. So if you feel compelled to donate, anybody watching, $400 covers a complete scholarship. And for those watching too, I know people are asking about sessions and things like that. We'll have it recorded. At this retreat, we will only be recording our main sessions and they will be available, but our breakout sessions will not be recorded. So definitely I feel like this retreat is going to be so unique because we're offering the whole body, incorporating all of that into the healing process. And that's going to be a lot in the breakout sessions. So there's definitely the main sessions we will be able to offer, but really you will need to be at the retreat to experience it all. So we're praying that everybody can be there that desires to be there. So yes, well, thank you so much for everybody who joined us today. Thank you for your time and for your patience. I know we're running a little bit behind. And if y'all have any questions, do drop them in the comments, and I can always tag Sharon and we can come back and answer them later. So
Sounds good. Oh, and if it's okay, Lauren, I will come back and drop in. I have, it's called an anti-anxiety tonic. It's a recipe. I forgot to say I'm going to be sharing recipes too at retreat,
oh,
and I'll drop it in the comments for everybody so they can have it.
oh my goodness. I am really excited. I can't wait to make that one.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks again for joining us, and hope everybody has a really good afternoon. See you later. Bye.